Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. This will be my top 10 stocks as we head into Monday, January 2nd. This will be a technical analysis breakdown. So if you're somebody that uses charts within your trading, or maybe you're just interested in learning more about charts and how they can be used as a tool to help make good decisions as a trader, this will be a video for you. Real quick, a couple of clarifications. Number one, the price you see over here will be changing, and the candlestick you see right there will be moving around and changing. That is because the market's still open for a small amount of time, but I like to do these videos when the market is still open because sometimes we can capture some really interesting late day price movement on video here. And then second, I'll be using the 30-minute time frame, meaning each one of these candlesticks represents 30 minutes worth of time. Stock number one here, PALI. What a monster mover here. And overall, some very nice patterns here and levels that you got to think a lot of people are watching. And I make that comment because when lots of people are watching the same levels and wondering the same things, call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, call it whatever you want, it can definitely produce some very dynamic movement. So the first level here that in my mind, a lot of people are going to be watching is that level right there at $7.35. You can see several times the price has gotten up around that area. And the one time it did break through, but other than that, just really struggled to keep up the momentum and, build a momentum that it once had. So again, does that mean anything's guaranteed? No, but is it plausible to think that if the price comes up to that area and breaks up through it, that break in and of itself could create good, solid additional buying pressure? That's certainly a plausible outcome to throw out there. As far as levels of support are concerned, keep an eye on that level down there at the $5 dynamic, as that seems to be an interesting level where the price has once already bounced off of it. And right there, I guess, got somewhat close to it. Didn't hit it exactly, but point being, that'll be another level to watch for pullbacks. So $7.35 key level of resistance, $5 key level of support. Next, KALA, and did this one yesterday when it was in this bull flag here, and you can see today has just continued to absolutely beast mode it upwards. So definitely a lot of eyeballs going to be watching this one headed into next week. So let's map out some new levels here. Deleted those lines because they're no longer relevant right now. But as far as levels that, once again, you got to think a lot of people are going to be watching, first key level right there at that $42 mark. And then along with 42, you have a nice little uptrending trend line like that. So let me change that to green to represent more so a level of support. And then maybe to make the pattern a bit easier to see, let's make it one color. So we have our resistance, we have our support, and then you have the big explosion right there. And for you golfers out there, we'll make it a little bit more visual. We'll put our golf hole down there, and this will be known as a bull pennant pattern. So again, no guarantees, but is it plausible to think that if the price comes up here and can push up through that area, that break could create additional buying pressure? That's certainly a plausible outcome. Next one, MULN, and a very, very nice day today. Huge volume, and have ourselves yet again a good solid pattern. So it just goes back to the whole idea of a lot of people watching the same things, wondering the same things. You've heard me say it before. So let's see if we can get some potential self-fulfilling prophecies with the next key level to keep a very close eye on right up here at the 32-cent mark, which you can see was essentially the highs from this area of the chart. So another nice push up to this area presents a very interesting dynamic. And if the price can push up through 32 cents, the chart opens up quite a bit as the next levels of resistance, aren't up until the higher 30s. Again, does not mean that the price will shoot up there, but the potential is there. So certainly an interesting situation. As far as the supports are concerned and pullback areas, interesting level to keep an eye on. For those of you that like to play pullbacks, right there at the 26-cent mark, so keep an eye on that. But no doubt about it, very, very impressive way to end the week. And I guess that I think about it, end the year. So we'll see how it goes next week. Next one, ATNF. And I don't mean for it to be like this, but sometimes the market just gives you a whole lot of the same general types of patterns. So we have ourselves another bull pennant here. Top of the pattern being right up here at the $3.90 mark. And then as far as the support is concerned, right down there at that level. So again, let me change that to green to represent support. And then you've heard me say it, but I'll just do it one more time with, well, maybe not one more time if there's more stocks that are like this, but resistance, support, nice upwards move here. I suppose you could argue this is a bull flag, and I don't think I'd fight against that argument. But pointer being, the general idea is that there has been a very, very impressive move up. Now it's doing some consolidating, so the question becomes, is this just a consolidation before another move back upwards? Certainly worth keeping an eye on for next week. Next, AMC. And rough day today, but it's looking to close strong. And I say rough because it fell back inside of this range where it was previously. Not exactly the sign of a genuine move. But as I speak, and this is why I like to do these when the market's still open, you can see that the price is trying to fight back up above that green line. So that'll be the big question mark is, can the price close above $4? If it does, that is a good step in the right direction to ensure that, like I said, it doesn't close down in this range. But if the price does come back down and closes down below $4, then that implies that it's right back into the range that it previously broke out of. And, price movements that break out of a range and then go and fall back inside of the range, like I said, not exactly a sign of true power. So definitely keep an eye on $4 and, where the price ultimately closes relative to that area. If the price does push up through it, then you have this overall resistance up here at 430. But I'm actually going to bring this level down now that we have more data. It seems as though the more relevant level is going to be right there at the $4.20 mark. But yeah, let's see if $4 holds. And if it does, then keep an eye on 420 for next week. Real quick, wanted to take a break and personally invite you to get signed up for this free live online event that I'm offering next week. So if you've been enjoying what I've been using with technical analysis and you want to learn more about this tool, how it can and should be used to build consistency, then definitely get signed up for the free live training. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link in the description box. If you're watching at my site, there's an area right there on the webpage that you can click to get signed up. So like I said, if you've been enjoying what you've seen, then definitely get signed up for the free live training. Next, SILO, very, very ugly looking chart, but for you longer time viewers, you know what I'm going to say next. There can be opportunity in the ugly. So no doubt about it to think that at one point the price was up here and now it's worked its way all the way down here. Very, very ugly looking chart. But for those that can honor stop losses and be disciplined, you have a very interesting scenario down here right around this former area of support and these moving averages at 325. Where nobody can say it'll for sure bounce. Those don't exist. But is it plausible? Is it valid to think that the price could come down here, close the gap, find some support at those moving averages, and then bounce back upwards? That is certainly plausible. And it's not like you need a massive reversal to make it worthwhile. Even if you get a modest bounce relative to what was being risked, you could have a very nice risk versus reward scenario. So if you like to play these kind of quote unquote opportunity in the ugly situations, then this one belongs on your watch list. Next, TGTX, and did this one previously. That is where the red line is coming from, and that's where the first update comes into play. We are now in the middle of a new trend line breakout. So a breakout is underway, which just prompts and leads into the next question of, okay, so it's not a question of can it break out because it has broken out. The next question becomes, can this breakout just get that much more continuation going into next week? So if you're somebody that likes to play breakout and potential momentum, this is one to keep an eye on. As far as areas of support are concerned now, key level with any sort of pullback going to be right down there around $10.85. And then as far as next levels of resistance, as you're seeing here, having to squeeze down the chart a whole lot. In fact, are we in blue sky breakout territory? Yeah, we very well may be. So that's a good problem to have. But one level of resistance you could keep in mind is this area of resistance right there via that trend line. You can see that it's actually a very accurate one, but forecasted resistance there, and resistance there. So keep an eye on that dynamic. But I can also see if you're like, no, I'm just going to call it blue sky breakout. That's fair enough. Again, I would not push back on that argument either. So a couple different ways of looking at it. But moral of the story here is it got the breakout. Now going into next week, it's just a question of can this breakout get that much more continuation? Let's see what happens. Next one here, TSLA Tesla, and not too much to really talk about, assuming that you watched the previous video, because these levels that I talked about previously still do pertain. The main level being that red line here, which I drew in previously as resistance. And you can see that once again this morning, that's exactly that where a problem was presented, and it did indeed act as resistance. But on the same token, that level of support right there didn't even come close to getting tested. So not only did the support hold strong, like I said, didn't even come close to even getting tested. So overall, though, nothing new to really report, other than the fact that you got to think there's probably going to be that many more eyeballs watching that trend line now, especially after it proved to be resistance this morning. So a situation where if it can get up there and break, let's call it through 123.50-ish. That could certainly be one of those breakout points that a lot of other people are watching. So overall, though, good, back half of the week here for Tesla, and we'll see if they can build upon this momentum next week. Next one, DRMA, and somewhat like SILO in terms of, opportunity in the ugly, but it's not as close to these areas of support. So another way you could play this is just to watch this trend line right here. Very steep trend line. And while nothing is guaranteed, as I've said 8 million times, and we'll probably say another 8 million times, but I just want to really hammer that home. But to watch that trend line right there and see if the price can break above it. If the price can break above it, then that could be a leading indicator that there's some more bullishness to come. But if you do want to just sit back and let this thing continue to pull back, Then another interesting level of support to keep an eye on would be down there at the 29-cent mark. So a couple of different ways you can play it from a breakout standpoint or a pullback standpoint. But again, you got to honor your risk on situations. I mean, you should always be honoring your risk, but especially in situations like this where it's clear that it's seemingly pretty weak, seemingly pretty ugly, and you don't want to turn into a bag holder. But if you can be a disciplined trader, then worth keeping an eye on, especially if you like penny stocks. Next one, TQQQ, which is an ETF that follows the NASDAQ. So if the NASDAQ market as a whole rises, this one will also rise in value. Just it allows you access at a much lower price point, which is what makes it such an important or such a popular ETF out there. But overall, very, very healthy day. That may not seem like much given it kind of just went back and forth, although as I speak right now, you can see coming back to life very nicely. So nice movement right there. But the main dynamic of why I mean it was a nice day is, unlike AMC, think about AMC, how it was threatening falling back inside of the range that it had just broken out of. This one did not. It tested it several times, and this will mean a bit more to those of you that watched yesterday's video where I talked about this as a level of support. But you can see right there, held as support, held as support, held as support, held as support. So far so good. 1660 is indeed holding as support and has not allowed the price to fall back inside of this previous range down there, which from an overall standpoint is a good sign of power. If this upwards move continues, then yes, you have overhaul up here at 17.75, that first key level of resistance, but I'm going to add in another little nearer term one right here at the $17.20 mark. But yeah, again, that's why I like to do these when the market's still open. Look at this move right here. Very, very impressive. Does it continue? We'll see what happens. But overall, like I said, in my mind, the most impressive and bullish dynamic today was holding up above 1660. So let's see how it carries into next week. So that wraps up the top 10. Again, if you like what you saw here, then I want you to get signed up for the free live training next week. It'll be Thursday, January 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern time, so I hope to see you there. As far as these top 10 videos are concerned, if you enjoy these formats, then please let me know by doing two easy things. Hit the like button, leave a comment, say what you traded today, tell me Happy New Year, tell me what you're watching next week. But those two things communicate to me that you're enjoying, and as long as I know you're enjoying, I'll continue to put in the time and effort to get this content out to you. So on that note, I wish you all a Happy New Year, and I'll see you back, I guess I can say, next year.